Okay, so hi guys. I have made like some reworks, some role reworks for two characters that I could most definitely say I could most definitely say like could use role rework, and by that I mean like rework their abilities into a different role. So the first one is Blade, and I'm thinking Blade would work in a Vanguard rework, right? So listen up, listen. First of all, I think Blade's lifesteal ability could be given to his teammates in range also on activation, maybe minus the reduced healing to teammates. And this would allow Blade to work with his teammates more and give them more survivability, which would work in Blade as a Vanguard because it would give the whole team more survivability. Think of like a small cap ult instead of shield, it's just lifesteal, you know. But like it's not like how cap ult where it's just like in vicinity of Blade, you know. Maybe like a small vicinity, maybe medium to small. And next, you could also make his block to where he has to or can choose a teammate to use his block on, moving him in front of that teammate and also buffing his block in general when used on a teammate. The thing to remember here is that it only buffs when it's used on a teammate. If it's used alone, it just does the normal Blade block. So I mean, this would make it important to use. This would make people who are playing Blade as a Vanguard, right? This would make them want to use it on teammates more, encouraging more team plays and encouraging and just giving more survivability again overall as a tank, you know. Vanguard. And next, I would make his healing reduction come into where Bloodline is a main resource in survivability, maybe in some way. So this to say is like his healing reduction would be kind of like Strange's, like when he uses that burst, and like before, if he doesn't use the burst at like 100%, he gains like that, what's it called, the when he can't be healed, right? And that's kind of like Blade, you know. If he doesn't do damage for like some time or something like that, then he gets a healing reduction. This meaning this would keep the person using Blade, it would keep that what's the word, it would keep that pressure. It would keep them using that pressure, meaning their teammates would keep getting the lifesteal, and it would overall just like bring everything together. I feel like in the mindset of the player, you know. And then his ult can stay the same, but maybe bigger and less damage. So the healing reduction is the main focus of it. So my thought here is like this ult would be more of a team player ult. That's what I'm trying to focus on this whole Vanguard kit, you know. So instead of doing crazy damage, it would instead be focused on the healing reduction. It would still do damage, it just wouldn't be as crazy as like DPS Blade, you know. So the healing reduction would be the main focus, and this would give into counter plays and more abilities for your teammates and everyone to work together to get rid of their team, because the healing reduction would be a big thing, obviously. So it would give more intersection to new plays and ideas, you know. So I feel like this change of Blade into a tank would not take away from his playstyle, but lean more into helping teammates and protecting them while also leaving enemies vulnerable, giving more opportunities to team plays than Blade could originally, you know, do. So, you know, like, I was thinking like this rework eats, you know, this rework eats, because period. Okay, that's the first rework, okay? So the next character we're gonna rework, guys, I cannot say this word. The next character we're gonna rework is Phoenix, and we're gonna rework Phoenix into a strategist role. Because I've been playing recently, and Phoenix gets banned every time anyway, and it's like nobody really wants to deal with them. Like if I play Phoenix, I don't want my character to be banned 24/7. Don't get me wrong, this idea might also get her banned, but you know, they can balance it. They can balance it for real. And although this idea, I noticed that it doesn't use as much as her telepathic abilities, but at the same time, I'm not trying to completely change the kid. I'm just trying to keep it the same as it was before, but into a different role. So people who liked that character can still play them. It would just be in a different focus, in a different role. You know, still have those abilities, but a new side to them. You know, the other side. You know. Okay, to begin, her ultimate would be the same, but on activation she actually makes a temporary phoenix shaped shield. So it wouldn't be like a shield like a protective shield that like when you damage it, it blocks damage. It would be a shield that grants invulnerability for those few seconds to teammates in the shield. But it'll be very, very short. It will not be fast. That's why I'm like, it's an invulnerability. You need this to be very short, not very fast. And then what makes this powerful is, so while that invulnerability is happening, Phoenix will still soar into the sky like she usually does with her ultimate. But when she crashes down, instead of doing crazy damage, the shockwave that, you know, usually comes would be the main focus. And instead of one big shockwave, it would be multiple that just heal and destroy summons, but it would only destroy summons on the first shockwave. Which I feel like is a very powerful ultimate that also keeps the basis of her original, but it also empowers it with a strategic playstyle. You know, it gives more room for thoughts and strategies, which is what Phoenix. I really feel like that's what Phoenix is. She's a strategic person. She's not just a DPS that does damage to people. She makes ideas. That's why she has the telepathicness to her, you know. And like if Emma, you know, if she gets this strong Vanguard role, I feel like the Phoenix deserves more than just a DPS role. She deserves to show more of what she can do in the strategist role. And I feel like moving her to strategist would give her more opportunity to show what she can actually do. And now, next, she now would also be able to apply sparks to teammates, and the explosion would also heal. And of course, her damage wouldn't be as powerful, by maybe lowering damage or something like that. I'm not completely sure how you could do that, but you know, that should be, it should be pretty easy to think of. And of course, the primary would also heal, I think, unless that would be too powerful. Well, you know, you can test these things out and see. I'm just like thinking what could possibly happen. And and every third use of the skill,
He's stuck in there. A little help, please. Got at least one more round in me.
But also to be the strategic person she is and always has.
Leave them shoot. That sugar.
These
Anyone willing to help? That hurt me.